Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi. We are now seeing Kid Cudi. What? Oh my God. I just want to just be like, bing, bop, boom, 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 bop, bam. I mean, really, I'm feeling Kendrick on this. I'm feeling Kendrick's song. What they talking about? They ain't talking about nothing. Right? So,
Or Day and Night. Did Kid Cudi sing that? Day
oh
and
my
Night?
God. Oh yeah, yes, Lord.
Day and Night.
You know, I try to,
Du-
I'm,
du-
you know what I mean? Like what? Like, yeah. I'm telling you, so much today. You know, you guys. I know y'all been missing us. Come on, conversationalists on Real Talk. I know y'all missing some elevating and empowering that we were giving as well. We back. We back with more stuff, some more updates. We got some Kid Cudi stuff, some more Cassie because it just doesn't stop. Would they leave Cassie alone? Can we stop talking about Cassie? Is this trial not about racketeering, sex trafficking, can I say prostitution across state lines? What the case is. But we seem to have a distraction, almost like what Trump does, all these distractions, so we don't focus on what he really doing, right? That's what they're doing with this case. They keep talking about the domestic violence with Cassie, which is not what's on trial here. But they don't want, but I think it's, and I'm just talking, y'all, but because I didn't got all aggressive and everything and hyper. But I
You
think
hyped up. You hyped up.
oh my God, I'm so happy because I think for the defense team, they're like, yeah, keep talking, come on, keep bringing up Cassie because as much as y'all talk about Cassie, we will not get to what we're really here to talk about, which is the racketeering, sex trafficking, prostitution, cross-state violence. Okay? So then by the time we get to the 8th week, we just haven't talked about it. And guess what? Not guilty because there's not enough information to support the charges we have brought. That's what I see happening if we keep going down this path. So you've been catch up. Hey, let's say, hey, everybody, we're back. Kim and Gilead, elevating and empowering. Hey, I'm sorry, I had to go in. I had to just let it all out for a minute. Yes.
Let it out, girl. Let it out. Let it out.
I've been down. I've had this cold.
You've been sick.
Oh, I mean, yes. So I just kind of.
And you've been busy.
Right. So forgive me if I don't come with much information because, I've been tuned in. I am like this.
Let's talk about the information that you have.
Okay. So we know that we're 10 days, 10 days in, 10 days deep. 10 days.
10 days. It literally feels like it's been like 2 months.
Already. And, you talk about 10 days and 16 witnesses, Kim, in 10 days.
Already.
Right.
Now, who are some of the witnesses, the new ones?
First I was like wanting to kind of just hone in on all 16 because, that's me and being so OCD and detail oriented. And then I was just like, no, we're not really going to, I'm sure you guys are tuning in to, the trial and getting information probably from all other sources, but we hope you're getting a lot from us as well. But, Kid Cudi is the biggest one. Scott Muscati, which is his real name, Scott Muscati. Isn't that kind of cool? Scott Muscati.
I just found out today he's from Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh man, that we should have known because he's got a little bit of gentle flair, a little bit of eclectic feel to him. Got that little Ohio gentleness. You know how that gentlemaness kind of thing that Ohio brings. Not everybody.
Well, can we talk about how cool Kid Cudi looked getting out of the car, umbrella over him, smoking a cigarette, leather jacket, like
going to a federal court trial.
Let's get this over with. Let's get this over with.
Right?
I got things to do.
No suit, no tie, because I'm what? Kid Cudi. And I do it like that.
Yeah. He didn't want to be there.
No. I do want to talk about him because you and I, we collage on some things, like you feel a different way, I feel a different way. So I do want to talk about him, but before I want to talk about Kid Cudi's one of the witnesses we'd like to talk about, I hope today. Also, Dawn Hughes, who is the psychologist that is just really not there for any of the witnesses. you know, not for the prosecution, not for the defense. She's actually there to talk about, you know, trauma. What is it? It's called trauma bond, right?
So who
Um,
called her in?
I believe the prosecution called her in, but not, she wasn't like there for Cassie. She wasn't there to talk about Cassie's experience, right?
Mhm.
Or Diddy experience, his side, right? It was basically saying, I'm just coming to tell you what victims go through and why
Yeah.
they stay.
So
Um,
she's paid by the prosecution then, by
Correct.
the
Yeah.
state
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
federal.
Brought it, yes. So also we want to Don Richards, you know, with that group that he had. What is the group called? Oh
What was their
gosh,
group called?
Don, Dana Kane,
Danity Kane.
Dana.
Was she
Thank
in that?
you.
Was she in that group?
She was in there testifying. Yes, she was in
And
there
then she was in
testifying what
another
she
group.
saw happen with
Yeah,
Cassie.
with the
And
frying
I do want
pan.
to talk about the compelling witness. My heart felt for, which is Cassie's mother, Regina Ventura, right? I kind of like her dad and mom's name because it's kind of like, you know, me, I'm so weird, but Regina and Roderick, RR Venturas. So I thought that was kind of neat. Like, I'm Regina, I'm gonna marry Roderick. So I'm corny, so stop.
Okay,
Anyway,
let's talk about the witnesses.
yeah, so that and I think that is probably who and his executive assistant, George Kaplan, who actually went in to set up or clean up after the freak offs. Okay, so those are kind of
Man,
the
what a
ones I
job.
wanted to bring to the forefront, right?
What a job. Okay,
Right.
who are we
Let's
starting with?
let's talk with let's I think let's have some fun and talk about the handsome Kid Cudi. Um, and you know what? We're going to do another show here in a bit to talk about victim shaming. So I don't know that I want to use um, the how she came into this business. Let's not. I'm going to save it how Cassie came into this business because I was actually going to use that right now to talk about Kid Cudi and his witness testimony, but I'm not. Let's save it for the next show about how she came into the industry. So let's just simply start with Kid Cudi and what he's gone through. Um, Me and you talked a little bit offline. So Kid Cudi, when he came in to testify, um, I don't know that he offered much support to the racketeering or the enterprise part of Diddy's uh, role, right? In the why this trial came, you know, just a part of it, right? Because we're looking for racketeering, we're looking for, you know, proof of sex trafficking and prostitution across state lines. But in the racketeering part, the enterprise itself being like extortion, um, blowing up his vehicle. What
That
did you?
seems like a pretty big part.
It does, but Kim,
Because it's like the mafia, how they used to blow up people's cars. That was part of their enterprise, right? Intimidation,
exactly, but Kim,
violence.
you can't say for a fact that he did it. I just believe he did it. I can't
Yeah.
say he did it. I didn't see. No one saw. But because of what we're going through with Cassie, I believe it to be he.
It's pretty, I don't know the legal term, but it ties into that because Diddy called him and said, "I'm sitting outside of your house." And then Kid Cudi shows up to his house, his car's blown up, his dog's locked in the bathroom, the Chanel gifts are all over the place. I think we can, what is it, tie the knots. It seems
Right,
pretty obvious.
but you're asking the jury to just think for a moment to say, because it seems coincidental, we can
No,
convict on that, or we can
there's
use
no,
that a part of the racketeering.
well, I don't think
You
it's
can
like,
still, you can't say he did it unless you see it.
but that's like with anyone. So let me give you this. If you're dating someone and their ex or current partner says, "I am sitting outside of your house, get over here now so we can have a meeting," and you're like, "What?" And then when you show up, that person has, or that person is gone, I guess,
Yeah.
but your car's blown up, your dog is locked in the bathroom, your house is a mess, security cameras are turned off. Huh. I wonder who could have done all of this.
But how could he not be sitting outside? Get over here now. I want to talk, da da da. And Diddy sitting outside his place, hadn't been in his place, but someone we don't know any involvements that Kid Cudi has had or any other relationships. So we can't say that someone had not already done this.
Do you work for the defense?
No, I'm just saying
Well,
we don't
because I'm saying like in
reasonable
it's
doubt. You're supposed to
well,
do
to
reasonable doubt.
personalize it, if someone is pissed off at you and says, I am sitting outside of your house, get over here now. And then you get to your house and your car's blown up and your house is broken into, who do you think did it? The
I
mailman?
I would think yeah, I would think that. But if we go to court and I didn't see that, I can't prove it. I'm just gonna say because we have an issue over
But
a girl.
things happen, and once again, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't there's a term for it, right?
Reasonable
Like
doubt.
reasonable doubt or something like that, because crimes happen all the time.
Correct.
And the jury is not there to witness the crime, so they have to put two and two together. If I think any normal logical person could put two and two together, that, and this is the case that seems like the prosecution is putting the puzzle pieces, right? Kid
Right.
Cudi's car being blown up and house broken into is one part of a huge puzzle of Diddy intimidating, being violent, racketeering, using his prestige and his business to make people's lives suffer. And Kid Cudi seems like he was a puzzle piece in this big puzzle of Diddy being an absolute demon. Demon. Just like Cassie's testimony, just like all of the escorts testimony, like no one is there to see this. We have to
You
put
didn't
all
see
these
it.
puzzle pieces
I can't
together.
believe it. You didn't see it. I can't believe it.
Mm. Well, in that case, then you could say then you don't believe Cassie's involvement in the freak offs, because we've only seen one video evidence proof of him abusing her. If that's the case, then we could be
Um,
like, oh, everyone could be lying.
no,
They didn't really
no,
see it.
she herself admitted she was a part of the freak offs. Boom.
Yeah, just like Kid Cudi admitted or said that his car was blown up. That's
His car,
evidence.
but she admitted I'm in the freak off. He said my
Yeah.
car's blown up, but I can't say. I'm thinking it would be him, but I can't. He didn't say I think he did it. He said here's the sequence of events that
True.
occurred.
Well, let me ask you, do you think Diddy blew Kid Cudi's car up?
Oh, now you want to get personal?
I'm just asking.
Hell yeah!
Because that's what the prosecution is going to basically ask the jury. They're setting the stage. Do you think that Diddy, with all of his money and connections,
Absolutely, I think he did
blew
it for
up Kid
jealousy.
Cudi's car
Yeah,
and broke in his house?
yeah.
That's
You
all.
took my
You don't
property.
need reasonable doubt. You just need the jury to be like, yeah, I think he did it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you took my property, and you're gonna pay because that's what she was to him, property.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 So
So and also, I kind of didn't like how in court, he painted Cassie in terms of I thought I didn't know that she was with Diddy. I thought we were together. She was cheating, but I never knew that they were together. And he was feeling some kind of way about that.
did
So
he say that Cassie was cheating?
yeah, because he said, I
Mm.
didn't know that they were together. So I'm kind of feeling some kind of way. I'm hurt about the fact that she was with me, but she was also with him too. And so it kind of
I'd be
just
hurt
like,
too.
it's like, well, I feel like that kind of makes the jury look at Cassie like
But she's not on trial.
she's not on trial, but I want to be careful because she was the first witness. She's the one that is going to be a lasting impression. Although again, it's not about domestic violence and so forth, but it is about uh, is she part of the sex trafficking? Was she going across state lines? Committing these acts and so forth. So they're trying to prove that she's willing, just her character basically. And I
Okay.
just feel like that was an assassination on their character, right? So I was just
Mm.
like, ugh. So it kind of was like, right? So I'm trying to protect her character, and I'm not in the court, and I'm not in any
And
way
you
a
know,
part of the
I
case.
will always say that no one's perfect.
That is true.
No one's
That is true.
perfect,
Yeah. So I
especially someone dealing with tremendous amounts of trauma. Tremendous amounts of trauma.
oh my oh we're gonna yeah we're gonna cover that the next show. Oh my gosh, my
Yeah.
heart just goes. So I also, of course the courtroom chuckled too, but I did too when he talked about when they did have the meeting to kind of squash everything. Remember at the hotel, and Kid Cudi was saying he walked in, and Diddy was standing in front of the window with his arms behind his back, looking like a superhero.
Like a super
Yeah,
villain.
yeah. I was just like, gosh, I wish I could have a picture
I'm
of
surprised
that.
he met with him.
Ooh.
Can you imagine someone blowing up your car, or you think the person blew up your car and then you go meet with them in their
Yeah,
offices? Was it
yeah.
it was a hotel?
What did you say early? What did you say, Kid Cudi? Where he from? Where he
Cleveland.
from?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Cleveland,
yeah.
yeah.
If y'all don't know,
Because I wouldn't.
exactly. If y'all don't
I
know,
live current we're from Ohio, and I live currently an hour and a half from Cleveland. So this is why the Kid Cudi Cleveland connection is so near and dear to our hearts.
yeah, we're both from Mansfield, Ohio, Ontario, but Ohio. So we know about Cleveland,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
we know why Kid Cudi would show up.
Yeah. He was like, bring it.
Because he Cleveland, baby. He Cleveland, baby. True. Yeah, so I thought that was very interesting, but they
Well, what
squashed
I
it, shook
explained,
hands, went
yeah,
separate.
explain
Yeah.
to me, because I don't know what happened after the supervillain pose when he was looking out the
Th-
window.
Yeah, they talked about, everything. They ironed out all the things. And I'm sure that in the conversation it was like, hey man, I didn't know y'all was together and blah blah blah. And in the fact that, let's also say, and I'm sorry, you guys, I'll back up, and just because things come to my mind, Cassie's giving Cassie was the one that gave Diddy his address.
I heard.
What you think about what you got to say? What you got to say, Kim?
Oh, very easily.
Oh,
When
here
you
you
have
go.
someone that's controlling every aspect of your life and they demand information from you, yeah, I'm going to give it to you so I don't get beat. We saw what Diddy did to her in that hotel lobby.
So you think
Do
that
you
she
think she
was,
could have said no?
well, because she can't say, I don't know his address. I mean, yeah, she could have, because even though he knew that they were dating, we never went to his home. We always met somewhere else. I don't know where he lives.
You know, it was awful that she gave out the address. And then once again, someone with so much trauma that's being abused, I don't see how she could have said no.
I will say this. Um, I can't say anything one way or the other, because I do believe that we the people do not we didn't live the experience, and we don't have every facet of the
Right,
movements, right?
right.
So it's really hard to, you're just gonna hear a snippet and you're like, oh no, she didn't give out the
That's awful. I
address,
can't believe
yeah,
she did
she
that.
yeah, you really can't, because you weren't there, and you don't know every movement or facet of what was taking place between all the parties. So as much as you want to say, man, Cassie, come on, you really don't know what she was up against. So
Right,
I want to give the benefit of a doubt of the trauma bond, which we'll talk about next show, that you just don't know what she was up against to deliver.
right. And that it's coming from a place of fear. Like, I
Yeah.
think the prosecution has done a really good job at showing the jurors and us by default who Sean Diddy Combs is. He seems like a man that you cannot say no to for anything. No, I don't want to do freak offs. No, I don't want to sleep with these men. No, I don't want to give you the address. No, I don't want to date you anymore. No, I don't want you. I mean, this man
Yeah.
controlled every facet of her life. He owned her car, her
Her
apartment,
flirt
her
clothes.
job,
Yeah.
right? I heard she
Yeah.
was in a 10-year or 10 album
Yeah,
deal.
10 album cycle. You don't do that. 2 album cycle. You do a two
But
album cycle. If you want to renew, you can renew. But 10 album
she
cycles.
dropped one album, but I heard she said she recorded hundreds of songs, and he had control over her livelihood. So
Yeah.
I'm sure she wanted to drop more albums,
Yeah.
tour,
Oh yeah.
perform, be in the public eye, but then that would have taken her away from him. She would have got the shine, she would have got the adoration. And we all know Diddy, just like Suge Knight, all up in the video, all
It-
up in the he was in almost every artist video. He was rapping, he was dancing. He wanted the shine. He wanted the
yeah.
adoration. So once again,
Narcissist.
did a narcissist. Diddy doesn't seem like a person you could say no to.
Well, yeah,
I
and
wouldn't
I
say
will
no
say
to
she
him.
didn't understand. I don't know who her management, was, but when I managed,
Diddy was her management.
well, I
Diddy
mean,
was her
no,
management.
wait, before she signed the 10 album cycles, like I always told my artists when, managing artists back in the day, like I made them learn, like read the book so that the business behind the music, the entertainment. But I always say two album cycles, boom, that's it.
But how
Because even
many,
money is made after 2 album cycles because you're not going to make
right?
anything like the first one anyway.
But listen, someone comes into your life that can change your life in a heartbeat.
I know.
And
Yep.
and they say sign this deal. And we see it. We saw it with TLC.
Yeah.
We saw it with Mariah Carey. We see it over. We saw it with Prince.
Yeah.
We see it over and over in the music industry with people that are extremely talented, but these people aren't business managers. They're not accountants. They're not lawyers. Their craft is singing, rapping, dancing. That's not their job to do that. And their management probably does not have the power. I don't know who her
That's
management
why.
was,
That's
but
why
once
I
again,
would
she
say,
was 19, and I think maybe Ryan Leslie, who was also her boyfriend. So you have all these older men with this with this teenager
yeah.
saying, we can make your dreams come true that you've been working for since you were 5, 6 years old. So Diddy offers
That's
you, that's like someone offering you $100 million if you do this, and you're going to say, you're going to negotiate. Myself as a grown woman, I have not negotiated every salary for my job because I'm like, well, let me take this. This is a good deal. She's 19. She's 19. Who
yeah.
was looking who was looking at, and once again, she's 19. She probably didn't have the money to have high priced lawyers and
Yeah,
accountants
that's
say,
true.
this
Yeah.
isn't a good
Yeah.
this isn't a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what's
She's
so
a young
sad.
girl trying to make it in Hollywood.
Yeah, I see it happen so much. And like I said, that's why I had a different idea with the management company
And
that
how
I
many
have.
managers are like you?
Oh,
How many other
yeah.
managers were like, oh, if she signs this 10-year deal or this 10 album deal, I get this commission. Yeah, sign it. Sign it.
Yeah. I even had the
Hollywood is
entertainment
not your
business say
friend.
that. You got a good manager. There's not many like that. But it's education. I don't want you to not be educated in this
How
industry.
many how many people are educated in the business of music in Hollywood? We see
Yeah.
that with actors, right?
Yeah.
That sign these long movie deals. Like I was watching the video, and Ryan Leslie, her former manager and boyfriend, which is weird too,
At
was
least she
referring,
released something. Go ahead.
right. Well,
Yeah.
was referring to her as a product,
Yeah.
right? These talented people are products. TLC was broke. They were like the
Ah,
highest female selling group, and they were bankrupt
because
because
they
the
wanted
record
to be.
company,
Mhm.
well, the record company, they got like 1 cent of every
Because
album
they did
sold
not, yeah, they did
because
not
they didn't
understand
know.
their contract. Yeah, they didn't know. They
And
just wanted to be on the radio.
how many other artists are dealing with this even today?
Yeah.
Like, you don't see very many artists that make the amount of money that record executives make off of them. Even Prince, remember when he had
Oh,
Slave
I
written
do.
on his, Prince
Oh,
was a very smart man.
Yeah, I do. Because that was one of the things I was like, your manager should have 10%. I kind of let them know like what your writers are making and why it's always good to be a writer and a singer, so you
Mhm.
can get the bulk up the most of your percentages. And
But the
your
record it's
producer,
not the
the
management,
video, like
it's not the writers, it's the record executive.
what no.
They're the ones that make the money.
Well, yeah, that you have to go up the line of why they don't get anything on their first album. Where are their expenses going? So I had to write that out for them and show them where their expenses are going and why they would net to zero and why you will not see anything to your second album cycle and why you should be careful and how you want to expend your, um, like the videos you kind of want to do. You got to be kind of smart and I don't want to do that because I know that I'm actually paying for this. You have to understand everything that you're doing, you're paying for this. They're not giving it to you. You're paying for it. And they're always getting a cut and a cut and a cut of everything that you're doing.
How many artists know this? And this
Yeah,
is what I'm saying. Cassie, 19, signing a 10 album deal.
yeah,
So
true.
this man controlled her passion, her music, and he only allowed one album to go out. Because like I said, she said, I recorded
Yeah.
hundreds of songs. She was there not to be an artist, she was there to be his sex slave.
Yeah. And then how many artists will take the advances? Like, they'll say, okay, we'll give you $100,000 advance. And that's why I always say, do not take the advance because you're going to pay it back. So that's another thing you're going to pay back that they don't really understand that. You say, somebody said, I'm going to give you $100,000. You go, oh, okay. No, you're going to
Yeah.
pay that back. So yeah, you're right. They don't know.
But how do
So
you say no when you're trying to live?
mine did, because that's what I said. We are not doing advances, and they understood it. You have to educate them. Like I had classes with my artists, So I get what
And
you're
what if
saying,
they were
but she
signing to
didn't
someone
have
like
that. I
Diddy?
get your point.
Yeah,
She
what if they
didn't
were
have
signing
any
to
that. Her
someone like
mother
Diddy?
didn't know. Um,
I mean,
who?
we're talking a multimillionaire. And when I
Yeah,
say multimillionaire, close to a billionaire. I don't think very many men with that kind of power and money are ever going to let anyone say no, because as much as you educate the artist and they may say we only want 2 albums instead of 10, I'm sure someone like Diddy would be like, "Well, fine, I don't want you." And then you see your career gone in an instant.
and
So
I'm
you
like, you're
have
not
to
the one.
say yes.
I know you don't have to. You'd be like, okay, all right,
Well,
you're
no,
not the one
that's what
for it.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, let's say your artists were trying to sign to someone like Diddy, and you're educating them, telling them all the facts, and then they go to Diddy and they're like, "We want 2 albums instead of 10," and he's like, "No, I don't want you then."
Okay.
And then they're out of their career.
No, they're not out of career. We continue to move through this threshold. Bye bye. Because we have attorneys on staff. I had attorneys in the entertainment business. The ones that the Jermaine Dupri would use, I had them, and they were a part of the team to say what you don't do. So it wasn't just I had a team, right, to make sure that they were making wise decisions. Bye bye. I know it hurts. They
But I'm
were.
saying no,
I mean, they would
no,
be
no
hurt,
matter
right? But you
but
got to
no
look
matter
at the bigger
how
picture.
wise of decisions you make, the person with the most money and the person with the least likely to lose anything, like Diddy, he's like, fine, I don't want you. And then you see all, and this is the thing, a lot of people don't like to work with smart, wise people because that takes away their control, which is why a lot of older men will date younger women, Diddy, Cassie, because she didn't have that wisdom, and she was
She did.
hungry,
She
just
was,
like we're
yeah,
all hungry for our dreams, right? So
yeah.
even your artist Diddy might have been like, fine, I don't want you, and then they don't get to work with one of the best producers in the world.
There's others. Whatever. I'm not flattered.
Well,
My goal is to protect my people. I'm not flattered. Okay, you're not the one. Look what he ended up being. Look what some of the groups. Don Richards was in.
oh,
What going
totally.
black. You know
But
what
you
I
don't know,
mean?
hindsight is
And
2020.
I'm gonna have a hindsight.
That's what I'm saying.
That's my
Hindsight is
goal.
2020.
That's my goal. What kind of manager am I if I don't look ahead for them?
No, I'm saying you did everything right. But if you have the opportunity of a lifetime, most people I know are going to take it.
I mean, I'm not going to say that I didn't have an artist that dropped off because they were like, no, but they said they were going to do. And then you sit and you really try to say, this is not the right thing. Here's what's going to
Yeah.
happen. And then you watch them and they tank. They don't end up going anywhere. Right. And then they come
Right.
back and you're just like, sorry, but I told
I'm
you.
sure there's people that probably told Cassie, hey, I have a bad feeling about this deal, about working with him. But she's like, this guy has Faith Evans. This guy has Biggie. This guy
Yeah.
has, all of,
Yeah.
because honestly, like if Diddy, before the trial, if Diddy called me and said, hey, Kimberly, can you come work with me? I'd be like, I'll give you a $500,000 a year salary. You'll travel the world with me because I need a cultural consultant because I'm an anthropologist. I'd be like, let's do it.
But you're gonna read the paperwork and you're gonna make sure the deal is good. You're not going to.
If he said sign this contract for 2 years to work with me for 500,000 or $1 million, I would take it. And
But you
then
would
I'd
read
be
the
like,
fine print to make sure you're not getting in harm's way.
but
Or
there's
you have
no
your attorney. Oh, you will sit down
true.
with an attorney.
But there's
I
no
know you, Kim. You're not just going to.
you're totally right. But let me tell you, because there's no fine print saying, you're going to have to be my sex slave and you're going to have to be involved in sex trafficking and you're going to have X with someone named the Punisher and you're going to have to smear baby oil all over your
And we're going to
body.
be talking
And
about freezer meat.
right, you're going to have to read a book called Freezer Meat. I'm going to blow up anyone that you try to date's car. That's not going to be in the fine print.
I think it should be.
That's not going to be in the fine.
We wouldn't be here today if it was in the fine print. We wouldn't be here today.
And think about it. We've all had, at some point in our life, we've had toxic bosses, whether they were racist or sexist, or they hit on you, or they tried to get you to work overtime. We've all had those bosses, and none of our contracts did it say the horrible things that would happen in the workplace.
Yeah.
Like your boss looking at you funny or touching you or asking you out for a drink. That's not in the fine print.
True.
Diddy did not have in the fine print anything about hundreds of bottles of Johnson's & Johnson's baby oil. Not in the fine print. No lawyer is going to be like,
I don't even use baby oil anymore. I use coconut oil.
Right. Your lawyer, my lawyer. Coconut. Yeah, that's more natural. My lawyer, your lawyer is not going to be like, okay, we need a separate clause that says if there's escorts involved, that our client has to wear protection. No lawyer is even going to think that such crazy debauchery is going to happen to their client.
It needs to be in the contract. So when you sign
maybe,
it, you know.
Maybe we should all start putting that in our contract, a no Diddy clause.
Yeah, no Diddy. No Diddy.
No, take that clause. We should. We laugh to keep from crying. We're not making light.
Bam.
Right? But I'm saying there is nothing that could have protected Cassie from a legal or managerial standpoint from Diddy, who is a demon.
You're exactly right. She's young. She's not even 20. She is very talented and she really wants to get out there. And she got a little taste of it with Ryan, and
her MySpace fame.
Yeah, so she got a little taste of it, and then here comes Diddy, who
a bigger fish
with the line, bigger fish. And Diddy, she looked at Diddy as, finally, I'm going to be known, right? She was just looking at her fame and her music, her talent. They're all going to know I'm going to do what I love. But Diddy was like, I'm going to rip you apart little by little till you have no self-esteem, so I can use you for what I really want to use you for.
Which is X with an S on the.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can say that on YouTube, but
yes.
For his pleasure, his actual
sadly,
pleasure.
It initially started with the drug, right?
Yeah.
Because once you start introducing that, you're
he knew what he was doing, getting her addicted to drugs.
Yeah. So yeah, so all of that. Now, so I,
Well, we
we
really veered off
we
topic there.
went we went left, right, down the hill, up the hill. We went
Around.
exactly. Are y'all dizzy? Are y'all dizzy yet? Yeah, we just we got into that one, and that's what we do. We get Um, but let's talk though, and let's back up because we got to get back on topic about the trial and about Don Hughes being one of the. You know what? Before we even talk about Don Hughes, the psychologist that came, let's talk about because we're talking about Cassie, and we did go down the hill, up the hill, around the corner, and stuff on Cassie. Let's stay
Down
there
the
for
road.
a moment. Yes, exactly. Let's stay there for a moment and talk about her mother being a witness, Regina
Let's
Ventura.
talk about that.
I think that she was I just couldn't imagine as a mother what she is going through and what she has been going through to watch the abuse that has happened to her daughter. Because this family, you can see the love that this family has and the treasure that they see their daughter being, and in their lives, and to see her being kicked around and used, as a sexual object, right? My heart just goes out. But I think that her testimony was really profound. And I said, I think it was so profound that the defense said, no question for this witness.
Now, why don't you think do you think
They don't want
it
any more. They
would
don't
it
want
have
any
looked
more from
bad?
her. Yeah, they don't want any more. The prosecution did enough. They asked enough, right? When she brought up the extortion of $20,000, and she had to get a second on her house, a second mortgage on her, on her home, right? To give Diddy,
A
the 20,
multimillionaire.
yeah, the $20,000, right? So he wouldn't release the special uh, tape, of her daughter, right?
And let's
He
point
gives it
out
back. He gives it back, which we knew if he gives it back because he didn't need it anyway. But it was just to say, I
power
have control. Yeah, I have
and
control.
control.
Yeah, we always run. You want to run to your parents because you think that's what you can do because they're going to save you. I got them too. Now what?
Now what?
Get on back over here. You got
Now,
nobody save you.
can you tell me, like about the racketeering or Rico? Wasn't that wire transfer of them giving him $20,000 to
Yes,
not release the tape?
correct.
Is that proof?
I think that is a snippet of it. Yeah,
Okay.
snipping. And I also think because she had so much, and she talked about, filming Cassie's bruises as a memorial, like, what I mean? Like,
Smart.
she had so much stuff to unleash, right? So the prosecution had their line of questions. She gets all that out. They don't, what are they going to say? What is the defense going to say? They don't want any more. This is
What are
her
they gonna
mother
say?
who has everything. I don't want anything else out of her mouth. No,
Yeah.
thank you. I'm done. We rest on her. Right?
Yeah.
That was a safe play. That was a safe play. Yeah. But my heart, oh my God, I just think that was so critical. She was a very critical witness, right? Um, just the part of, the extortion, right? Because even talking, I think the part of the extortion, but even talking about the abuse and she couldn't get out. Um, I don't know that was enough to prove that she was held for sex trafficking. Like she couldn't get out,
Mm.
she couldn't go anywhere, which is what they're trying to prove that she had no way out, right? Um, there's so many lines of it with the mom saying she couldn't, right? He was always coming to get her. He was always doing something to sabotage her way out, right? Well, they're saying she had her own apartment, but forgetting he owns it, so really it's still his, and it's just your place that I can get in and out, do what I want to do. So it's not really her place,
Yeah.
So a lot of people
The
say, well,
car, her car.
right, or they'll take pictures. Look, she's with Kid Cudi, or she's out with so and so. She's free. She's doing everything that she wants to do, but she still has to go back. When you think of people, even in human trafficking, going out for a moment, they know never to cross that line. They want to like say, you know, think of the ones that are getting taken through the airports. You think that
Yeah.
they could scream and say, take him, you know? No, they're so afraid that they don't even
Brainwashed.
right. They don't even they go to the hospitals because they need to get checked because something's happened, you know, and you think I can tell a doctor, right? And they're just like, nothing, say nothing. So why is it any different with Cassie? Because you see her out smiling,
On the red carpet.
interacting, and doing things. She still is in that frame of human trafficking, sex trafficking mode, right?
That's a good
Still.
point. That's a
Yeah.
good
So
point.
that's where I was just like, okay, so, and then her mom is saying, he comes here. He has us, you know?
Anyone that she would escape to also, like Kid Cudi's car getting blown up, her parents getting extorted for 20 grand, which is so much money to a normal person, but to
Yeah.
Diddy was
Oh, yeah. Like, no.
not probably a night out.
Yeah, exactly.
And like you said, it was just power and
Let
control.
me buy
So
this
the
puzzle piece real
people
quick.
that could help her are also being controlled by Diddy. Where was she going to go? This is a multimillionaire. Like,
Yeah.
he could hire a bounty hunter to find her anywhere in the world
Oh,
or to kill
absolutely.
her anywhere in
Absolutely.
the
Yeah,
world.
exactly. Yeah. And he's like,
Mhm.
I'm letting you know. And I thought it
Yeah.
was really sad too, because, you know, Ryan, who did release, you know, her single and where you got a chance to see a little bit of her talent, they were in a relationship. And
Mhm.
Diddy came in and scooped that right up. And you know what?
Yeah.
He's not been a witness yet.
I'm
I'm anxious. Yeah,
surprised.
I'm anxious. I know your last show, nobody care about J Lo. I want to hear from J Lo.
I
I
want
want
to
to
hear
hear
from
from Ryan. Right. I want to hear
Yeah.
there's some critical, you know, witnesses. I want to hear from Faith Evans. I want to hear from
Yeah.
Little Kim. I want to hear from more people from the camp because we're getting Dawn Richards. That's great. Carrie Morgan, which is her best friend. That's great. But they're not enough for us to know Diddy, right? These
Yeah.
are Cassie's friends. These are Dawn Richards that was a part of a group that I don't really think went anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And has crosses to bear with Diddy. I want to hear about the ones who have made it, have gone on to do their own thing. The Mace. Come out and tell us what you saw, what you think, like Albie Shore did. Bring more. What did you see in the camp?
Hmm.
Hey,
Maybe
Suge
they
still
will.
in jail. Suge, tell us something. And he's still
Oh,
here.
yeah. I
You
don't know
bad?
how does it work legally? Like, if you're called in, do you have to go, or do you have it? Can you say no? I don't want to testify.
There's a young lady that was going to, and she's not now. So I don't
Oh,
know.
so you have a choice.
Well, you know, I don't have that legal background. I wish I did to know that if you can. I know that she's not, but I don't know how do you if you're subpoena.
Yeah.
How do you?
Can you say no to a
Right.
subpoena?
I didn't think you
Because
could.
I understand why his successful artists, if you can say no to a subpoena, I understand why they won't. Because what happens if Diddy doesn't go to prison and he's this rich, powerful man and you've testified against him, your career is done. Or
Yeah.
any influence that you have with
He
him is
ain't
done.
nobody know. He done. He done. If he don't go in, he's still done.
That's true.
I mean, who?
That's
I mean,
true.
what? Okay, he had a. Okay, he had the academy, in Harlem. That he's no
Oh,
longer a partner. They took him out. You're nope,
yeah.
gone, done. He had a key to the city. They asked for the key back. He
Yep.
hasn't even been. He's not guilty yet. He's only been charged, right? He's only in court. He has not. He has not been guilty of the charges he's been brought forward, and he's already lost his partnership and the key to the city. So imagine, you know, one if he is guilty, well, we know he's done anyway. But if he's not, and he's just on trial and lost these, you know, important, uh, successful milestones, right? Imagine if he's not and he thinks he can come back out and who's going to work? What female is going to work for him? If correct me if
I
I'm wrong.
wouldn't.
There
I
could
would not anymore.
yeah, there could be some out there that
There's all
still
well because there are a lot of people and a lot of women defending him.
yeah, yeah. So that yeah. So I'm like, I say that, but we've got some people out here that still loves that fame and that admiration for the Diddy, right?
Right.
So yeah, so I won't say that that's the case. So yeah, so I'm just thinking he's just done anyway. But I will think about in terms of getting corporations on board. That's not going to happen. No one's going to work.
Yeah.
No one's going to work with him. So I don't know where he could go. When you
Yeah.
don't have anybody to back you, right? So yeah, so that it was one other thing I wanted to make. She was I think that Regina Ventura was a very impactful a witness,
Okay.
and then they bring in Don Hughes, and she again by the prosecution, but she's just simply saying, let's talk about the trauma bond because she has to lay out, the whole thing, why, the questions. I mean, everybody sees the question. Why didn't she leave? When
Right.
you are being abused that bad and a smash slave or whatever, why would you put up with that? So she has to lay out from a psychological standpoint what happens to victims that are in this, type of, that are going through this type of experience. So I thought that was really good how she laid that out. I haven't got enough time to because I have been ill to look more into her testimony and what she really brought forth. But I do know what she was trying to do. She doesn't work with Cassie or anybody particular, in this trial. She wanted to merely say, let me just give the explanation what sexual victims, abuse victims go through and the trauma
Yeah.
bond. So if
Which
anybody
I
has
think is
questions,
really important that the prosecution brought her in
yeah,
for that because especially with so many people not understanding what it's like to be a victim,
yes,
right? And why someone would stay. And we can look at that not just for these high profile cases, but just normal, regular, everyday people that suffer abuse, whether it be sexually, emotionally, physically,
correct.
because you hear people say that all the time, especially with women that are abused. Well, why didn't she just leave?
Yeah,
And I'm
exactly.
glad that they had this psychologist, this professional say, it's just not that easy. It's very mental. Even if you have all the money in the world, it's very hard to leave someone that's abusing you, especially if this is someone that you love and care for.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, so I that was very impactful. I
I'm
think so.
glad. I'm
So
glad they did that.
there, yeah. So that kind of was, and then we, of course, then we have George Kaplan, right? That comes in, who was the ex, executive assistant,
Assistant.
right, for Sean Combs, Diddy, Love, Puff Daddy,
Puff.
all the things, all the things.
Brother
Uh,
love.
yeah, right, right, all the things. Yeah, and I thought, he talked about how he's the one that went in. They were like, "Why would you go in and clean up?
It's your
Why would you
job.
what when you
It's
think that
your
was
job.
your job? You what?" He was like, "Why don't you leave it for the hotel staff? That's their job." And
Well, but I'm sure there's certain things that he needs to pick
well,
up so the hotel staff doesn't take pictures and sell it to the
he said,
tabloids, right?
well, yeah, he said, "My job." He was like, "Why would you clean up like that? Like
Because Diddy
the
told me
baby
to.
oil and what you were seeing, this brown crusty powder. Why would you clean it up?" And he was like, "My job was to protect my boss."
I can't believe people are asking why. Like, we all have jobs and we do things that we don't want to do, but because our boss is paying us and we don't want to get fired because we want to pay our bills, we do it.
Yeah, but what? But devil's advocate, here I come.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you be like, ah, no, this ain't good right here. This ain't enough money for me to be going down. I'm gonna tell somebody. You may clean it up one time, but get pictures. Well, I would say, how much more money can you get when you got evidence, but then you won't live because of the
Then you
camp.
won't live.
Yeah, yeah,
This is
yeah,
a very powerful man.
yeah.
And to the people that are like, why, to the devil's advocate or the contrarian, we as regular people making 30, 40, 50, 100K, 150 a year, we do things every day that we're like, damn, I hate this job. Every day. Well, maybe not every day, but we've all worked for a boss that we didn't like. We've all done things that we didn't want to do because we wanted to keep our job so we can pay our bills.
Yeah, or work for a boss that you feel like don't value you,
That
or
doesn't
don't.
value, that takes
Yeah,
advantage of you.
yeah, that
This
doesn't
is
see. Yeah,
I don't see what people don't see. I mean, because there are people that are janitors. There are people that work in hospitals that see bodily fluid every day, whether you're a doctor or a nurse or a custodian. I mean,
but
we all have a job to do.
Kim, what conversation do you think they had in this interview? Um, Now you're gonna be doing some things that may not seem. They might
Oh,
seem a little bit.
once again, just like we're talking about the legal contract, that's not brought up. Diddy's not like, oh, you're gonna have to clean up fecal
How could you?
matter and period
No,
blood.
how could you not? Because you are going to be doing it. So how could you not bring that up? Because you got to secure the fact that, is this the one for the job? Because you're putting your life on the line with this person that you're having come in to clean up your free calls. You got to have the conversation. It's got to be some. It ain't going to be in the contract, right? Because the contract would then be in court, right? So it ain't going to be
Let,
written. So it's going to be verbal.
let me put it in this context. You get a job working at McDonald's. In the interview, they say, as a starting employee at McDonald's, you're going to be doing the fries, the register, making hamburgers at the drive-through, and you have to clean the bathrooms. So your third, fourth day or week at working at McDonald's or any fast food restaurant, your boss is like, hey, go clean up the bathroom. You go clean up the bathroom and someone has had a diarrhea explosion. That is your job. I guarantee you in your interview for McDonald's or Burger King, the manager's not like, there's going to be things in that bathroom that will make you throw up.
Good. You are
and
good.
you're going to have to clean it. That's just
good.
People don't tell you the
She's
worst
good,
part
isn't
of the
she?
job
She's
during the
good,
interview
right?
because they want someone to take this awful job.
I don't care what I bring to the table. She knows how to slash it. Every time I bring something to the table, she slashes it.
But
That
you know
was
why?
good. That was
Because
good.
I just take all of this Hollywood glitz and glamour and I put it to us everyday, normal, commoner, peasant people. We've all had to, like I said, do jobs that we're like, oh my God, I absolutely, and most of us don't have the liberty to quit our jobs because we need health insurance, we need to feed our kids, we need to pay our mortgage, we got to pay our car payment, we need to eat. So we do things that we don't want to do.
Yeah, I know
There have been clients that I have not wanted to deal with when I was consulting. I've had to deal with racist clients. I've had to deal with men hitting on me. I've had to deal with people saying that I'm not smart. And I get up the next day, put on the suit, and work again because I need to pay bills.
It's so funny because when you say that, I had a friend of mine that we worked together back in the late 90s into the 2000s, right? And we hated the job. We hated the management, right? And we would say, we're leaving, and we break all day, I mean all year long, every month, every week, we're constantly, right? But we knew that at the end of the year, we get this big $5,000 bonus, right? So we get towards October and we're like, man, we can't, but hey, in about a couple
We're
of
almost
months,
there.
yeah, right?
We're
We
almost
did
there.
it. Right, we get the bonus and we finally ride into the next year. We start doing the same thing and it just became
same thing.
Yes,
And
like,
how many of
that boat.
listeners, how many of you have done that? I have worked every job from being a busboy to being a very high paid consultant for Fortune 500 companies. And I'll tell you, in any job I've had, whether I'm waitressing, whether I am working in politics, I don't care the prestige of the job. There has always been something that I
Yes.
did not want to do.
Oh,
And I did it anyway so I could pay my bills.
right. Or jobs
This
that don't use
executive assistant.
your smarts, or jobs don't use your hands per se. Want you to do the grunt work, but they
Yeah.
don't use your intelligence.
Yes.
And that is just so disappointing. And
Because
it's
I'm sure
so
Diddy's executive assistant, like you're saying, had to be very smart to do 99% of the jobs of dealing with a major global international mogul, music mogul. I'm sure his
exactly.
executive assistant is probably one of the smartest people that we would encounter. And because Diddy is his boss, and he had no one says, like Cat Williams says, when Diddy, you sometimes you got to say no to Diddy. He couldn't say no to Diddy.
No,
He was
here,
like, let me go clean up this disgusting, smelly
here's what he
mess.
did. He went in there. They didn't left the freak off. He goes into the hotel room and he do what we all do, right? He goes walking in and he's cleaning. He's like, I'm so sick of this shit. I gotta leave this job. I'm so
Literally sick of this shit. Literally.
yes, yes. I'm sick. Yeah. And then you find yourself at the next freak off after the event, and you're doing the same thing. Like I said about every year with the bonuses,
You do the
I'm not
same
doing this no
thing.
more. One more time. This is my last time. I don't need this money for this shit.
I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna find another
Exactly.
job.
Exactly.
And you might even put out some resumes and look around and you'll be like, well, the devil I know is better than the devil I don't. And Diddy is literally the devil that he knew. I don't blame him. I'm
Exactly.
like, and who knows how much this man was getting paid?
Exactly. Exactly. Do you
What do you
walk
think he
from
got
that?
paid? 250 a year?
Yeah. Yeah. You want
300?
I don't know,
I
but
don't
I
know.
want to
I'm
know.
guessing
We're gonna find out. You think we can? I don't know.
500K.
Yeah.
Because if you're an executive assistant to someone that is almost a billionaire that trusts you with their secrets and their business, you're not making
Let's see.
100K.
Yeah, I don't know how we'll find out. Uh,
Maybe like how much does a
let's see.
executive assistant of a billionaire make?
Hey, J Lo, call us real quick. Do you know? Yeah, call us. Tell.
J-Lo don't want to call us. I talk too much smack about her.
No, no, yeah. After you say, ain't nobody said J
Ain't
Lo. How
nobody
you
care
say
about
that?
J-Lo.
J-Lo.
Except I take that back because now I do care about J-Lo. I want to see
So
what she has to say.
So George Kaplan testified that he was a fixer of sorts for Combs for 15 months from 2013 to 2015 with a salary of 125,000.
Yeah, that's not enough. That's not enough. That's not enough. That's not enough. You and I have made that. That's not enough. That's not enough.
I make
Nope.
more than him. And I ain't
Or
cleaning up freak offs.
I find I just find that hot. That's not enough. That's not enough. A year, I mean, maybe like for a month, but a
Yeah,
year?
yeah. Oh yeah,
No,
yeah.
that's not enough.
Isn't that ridiculous?
So what else did he say
Uh,
during his testimony?
I just got that little bit. So you digging. You're
Oh,
digging.
okay. Yeah,
Um,
because
yeah,
I just heard that he
it just said it's his
testified.
job description tell everything from mundane to the shocking to the shocking.
Now, why
Um,
do you think they had him testify? Because he didn't really add anything, did he, to the
I think
charges?
that they wanted to. I think they wanted to get more proof because I think that they knew that he was the fixer up or cleanup of the freak offs. So I think that
Okay.
they wanted to you will definitely want to hear like from that person that goes in to clean up after the freak offs because you want to know what else did you see? What else do
Okay.
you know? You want to
Okay.
get that person on stand, right? And I'm not an attorney, but you want to get that person on stand. This is just what I feel because you got questions. You can give. You always got questions because you be asking me stuff, and I'd be just like, "Oh my
I
god,
always got
yeah."
questions.
So imagine the prosecutor, saying, yes, let's get him on because I got some questions, curiosity that I can maybe pull out and get some more information out for the jurors, right? To
Okay.
know who he really is, what really happened. He may or may not be able to offer that, but we gonna take the chance.
Yeah. Okay, so I know we probably don't have much time,
We
but I
don't.
want to ask you, who do you think the most impactful juror was? I know you said the mom, but I want to talk about some of these escorts, specifically Freezer Meat, the Punisher.
Do you know, I felt like you. Remember, I always say that it takes me a minute to bring you into what I'm trying to say. Like you would be like, "What are you talking? Huh?
Yeah.
What are you
Like,
talking
what
about?"
was
Right? Yeah,
that?
and I'd be like, "Oh my god!" Like the whole Tootsie Roll, and you were like, "What? Tootsie
Well,
Roll to the
that was
left,
so
to the right." I'm not talking
ambiguous.
about the dance. I'm not talking about the candy. And it was
Yeah.
like, ah,
Yeah,
right.
that was so ambiguous. I was
Well,
like,
I
can't the
was
kid?
you. I was you when I was watching, the testimony. I forgot the freezer meat, the name. I'm sorry, I forgot you brought but I'm sure
I know
everybody
they
knows.
called him the Punisher, but I forget his real name.
Yeah, I love to try to bring the real name out, and yeah, yeah.
Here, I could look it up.
I was like, you. What? Freezer meat? What do you mean? Like meat in the freezer? Like I literally had to keep sitting there going, what are we talking about? Like, why are we talking about freezer meat? And then I was like, I think I heard another part of the testimony maybe a day later. I heard someone else talking about it. And then I said, oh, oh, how frozen is freezer meat?
It was his book. His name is Sheree Hayes.
Thank you.
And
Thank
his
you.
he
Yes,
wrote a
I shouldn't
book
forget that
titled
name.
In
Yes.
Search of Freezer Meat. So
I'm
that was his
like,
book title.
yeah, I was, and then you see the picture of open the free, yeah, yeah, I was
Well, I think
disgusted.
that was talking about his erectile dysfunction, which he mentioned during the case that sometimes he wouldn't be able to get it up, and then that Diddy didn't want him anymore. But do you remember Diddy him in the testimony? He said that Diddy would sit in the corner with I think a hijab, right? What Muslim women use to cover their faces.
Why? Why? What? Why? Why? Somebody tell why? Why are you covering your face? Why are you wearing that? Why? What? Why? What? The mystery of it? What is it? What? Talk to me. Talk to me. Why are we doing that? Rip. Who are you? Rip. I need
You know,
more.
I've told you before, and I've told our listeners before that I don't judge anyone and their schmexual proclivities, like what you do behind closed doors with consenting adult or adults. It's none of my business. People get off on other ways.
You say
And
that. You say that. I'm feeling some kind of way.
you judge, you judge.
I judge. I judge. Okay. I'm judging. I feel some kind of way.
And I mean, doesn't this really prove the prosecution's case about human trafficking and the RICO and across state lines by having the Punisher or Sheree Hayes testify that, he was hired to do this sexual
But yeah,
job?
but they're saying that they're trying to prove the consent, they're all consenting. Because just like he was consenting. Oh yeah, I was consenting.
Yeah,
I was
I don't think the consent is a problem because it's not. But unfortunately, in the United States, prostitution is
across
illegal
state. Yeah,
in
it is. Yeah. Yeah.
49 states. I think just
Yeah.
Nevada, it's legal.
But,
Oh
but
no, just a few counties in Nevada.
oh,
So
can we
it's
just
illegal.
and I know we've run out of time, y'all. We've got to go, but can we just back up for a minute? If there was a erectile dysfunction, I'm allowed to say that, right?
I think so. We'll find out.
I know, right? Um, how's that comparative to freezer meat?
I don't know. I haven't read the book and I
They're
probably will
different.
not read the book.
And
I
why
don't know.
Am I
I
just
didn't want to go down that rabbit hole because I can. I mean,
go
I
get
actually I have
go
it.
get the book.
I was gonna say I have it pulled up. Sorry for the no pun intended.
Go get the book and tell us about it. Give us
It
the
says the
moment.
phrase freezer meat was used in the book title as a way to describe the sexual encounters in a provocative and attention-grabbing way. Well, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so is it just like, get out? You'll not freezer meat. Get out. I want freezer meat.
Oh, and he was an exotic dancer, so he thought he was just coming to do a little dance.
Well, that's going to be interesting because there's so much wrong with this. There's so much wrong with this. Um, and didn't they say that someone made the joke like, did you see all of the special workers look like they were all off of Tyler Perry's sitcoms and movies?
Perry's getting
Right,
no.
and I was like, stop messing with my Tyler Perry. No, like, no, one guy was, and I was like, stop it, stop it.
So you had asked earlier, why was Diddy wearing that? I just read it said that when Hayes entered the room, he didn't know that it was Diddy because he had that on. So I
Why
guess he
you
was
not letting people
concealing.
know who you are? You
I guess he was
nasty.
concealing his identity. It's probably part of the intrigue, part of the
Well,
fun.
you
Fun.
would, you would thaw out too. When you thaw out too, when you don't know somebody who that is behind that, you know,
Maybe
back in
because
our
see,
day,
I'm sure
anybody wearing a hood back in our day, we ain't feeling that. So you wearing a hood, and you gonna thaw out, right? 'Cause you're like,
well,
a
a
little
hood and a hijab are very different, culturally significant things.
you got a hood
A
on.
hood, especially a white hood, denotes violence,
Any
right?
hood, I'm walking in. I'm feeling
A
a little
hijab is a respectful religious
I'm gonna
covering.
walk over and say, "Who this?"
I just want to point that out to all of our audience that we are not conflating a Klan hood with a hijab in any way. That is my disclaimer.
Alleged.
No,
Can I use alleged?
that is my disclaimer, particularly to all of our Muslim friends out there.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, we're gonna leave it where we just left some little humor at the end and
What a
curiosity at the
trial.
end. It is a
So do you know
trial.
what's coming up next for the next week?
No, I am trying to catch up. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up now. Like I said, being ill and I haven't. So that is what my duty is over the next few
To get
days.
well.
It's just kind
Yeah.
of and to catch up and see what's going on. But I'm
There's
sure
so
Monday is
much.
a holiday for everybody, so we're not going to get anything good, and I'm sure for the court system. So we're back on Tuesday, and I'm in Tuesday. I'm
Yeah.
in.
And I think we should do an entire show on Diddy and his mom.
The narcissist.
Because how did he get like this? And I
They
typically
say
don't
his
like to
mom
blame
is a
moms.
narcissist, which passed on to Diddy as being a narcissist. So
And
there's a lot.
I found out today that might not be his biological mother.
You gonna do this at the end of the?
I know. I always do this.
Why she do that? Why she do that, yo?
Sorry.
You didn't. Oh, that ain't right. And we gotta go. We gotta go.
We got to go because we're about to do another show on victim blaming
Yeah, victim blame and shaming.
around the
So you
Diddy
guys,
trial.
yeah.
So
So
look
you
for
guys
that
come
video
back.
too. Look for that
Yes.
video too.
So what are you gonna do with this one?
For this video, you are going to like, share, and comment. We want to know what you think about freezer meat.
I told you that we won't stop. I thought I told you that we won't stop. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Bad boy.
You make me feel so good. Okay, I'm
You
sorry.
make me feel so good. Okay. We're gonna have
All right,
a
we
new
out.
song next time.
We're out. We're out. Love you.